Welcome to Shredder Fanfic. Like, subscribe, and hype video. Join members to gain early access to new videos.
After the main character dies inside of his previous life, he wakes up inside of Naruto as Naruto Uzumaki, and he starts with the Rinnegan. What is Naruto with the Rinnegan gonna do inside of Naruto?
Naruto started with the Rinnegan. Chapter 1, Crossing. Naruto, remember not to be a picky eater, eat well, and grow up strong. Take a hot bath every day, don't get cold. Also, don't stay up late, get plenty of sleep. A woman with long red hair and a beautiful face was gently giving instructions, and behind her stood a handsome young man with blonde hair. What happened? I'm not dead. When I opened my eyes, this was the scene that appeared before me. Where is this? Isn't it a dream? He raised his arm and looked at his palm. His small, white, and tender hands were just like those of a newborn baby. I really time-traveled. Just as he was rejoicing at his newfound life, a drop of water suddenly fell on his face. It's raining. No, it's not rain. Upon closer inspection, he discovered the source of the water droplets. It was a huge, sharp-looking fingernail that pierced through the bodies of the red-haired woman and the blonde man. Blood dripped down his fingernails onto his face. Naruto, what Dad wants to say, is the same as what your nagging mom wants to say. Naruto. Is this my current name? So what about them? Looking at the man and woman in front of him, he understood their identities and his current predicament. The nine-tailed fox's rebellion begins with the parents being sacrificed to the heavens. I was an orphan in my previous life, and I'm an orphan again in this life. Am I destined to be a cursed lone star? He knew it should be Naruto Uzumaki, felt somewhat upset. But he was just a baby. He couldn't do anything or change anything. Wrong. I think I have a cheat code, the Rinnegan. Naruto died in a car accident in his previous life, but luckily he met a powerful god whose name is unknown after death. The expert said he found him pleasing to the eye, granted him a new life, and included a chance to win a prize. He didn't hold back and struck with his bare hands, capturing the Rinnegan. Speaking of which, can the Rinnegan change the current situation? Naruto, still developing, brain pondered for a long time before sadly arriving at an answer. It seems impossible unless one is reincarnated and can exchange one life for two, putting aside whether he's willing or not. Okay, actually I'm unwilling. After all, they had only just met, and their feelings for each other weren't that deep yet. Even if they develop a deep bond later, he might not be willing. He's just an ordinary person. It's hard for him to be selfless. But now he doesn't have to suffer the pangs of conscience, because the cheat software hasn't arrived yet. Thus, the world lines converged, and everything returned to its original starting point. After saying his final goodbyes, Minato Namikaze looked at Naruto with pity, then, without further hesitation, formed hand seals. The 8 trigram seal. Wire. 3 years later. Inside the old house, Naruto sat cross-legged on the floor, earnestly doing eye exercises. He was pondering a question: would the Rinnegan ever return? 3 years, and another 3 years. It's been 3 years already. Has the master forgotten? Sigh, they didn't even leave any contact information, so there's no way to urge them. Bang, bang, bang. A knock came at the door, and Naruto, while doing eye exercises, said, "Come in." As expected, the person who came was the third Hokage. Seeing Naruto's appearance, the third Hokage asked curiously, "Naruto, what are you doing?" Protect your eyesight from a young age to avoid presbyopia in the future. Maybe if you do a couple more sets of eye exercises to improve your eyesight, your Rinnegan will awaken. How can I protect my eyesight to prevent presbyopia? It must have been a slip of the tongue, the third Hokage thought, and waited quietly for Naruto to finish his eye exercises before speaking with a kind expression. Naruto, you're all grown up now. From today onwards, no one will bring you food anymore. You need to learn to live independently. Grandpa believes you can do it. Here, this is your allowance for this month. Have some decency. You're making me fend for myself when I'm only 3 years old. Where is your conscience? Naruto Uzumaki stood up, took the living expenses, and counted them. 400 taels. Is that enough? He wasn't quite sure about the prices in Konoha, but based on Naruto's experience of going hungry in the original story, it was highly likely that there wouldn't be enough. Naruto looked up at the third Hokage and said, "Double it, 800 ryo." It's impossible that Kushina and Minato couldn't even come up with 800 taels of silver from their inheritance. The third generation shook his head and said, "No, 800 taels is too much, and you don't need that much money. 400 taels is enough for your living expenses." Naruto asked doubtfully, "Is that really enough?" The third generation nodded and said, "It's enough if you use it sparingly." No matter how brain-dead he was, the third Hokage would never intentionally starve a Jinchuriki. Not to mention the influence of the Watergate. Although it may not be much, it certainly has some face. We can't give you 800 taels because the village's rule is 400 taels. And the village treats everyone equally. There are many children like you, and it would be a huge expense if we added them all together. The village can't afford it, but... Pulling a 100-tael note from his pocket, the third Hokage smiled and said, "Grandpa can personally sponsor you 100 taels. Are you happy, little Naruto?" "Happy? My foot. You're using a smug tactic. Don't think I don't know you're just manipulating me." "I'm happy, thank you, Grandpa. I, Naruto Uzumaki, give this acting a perfect score of 100. I'm not afraid to be proud of it. By the way, sir, is this 100 taels given every month?" "It happens every month." "Very well, you can get lost now." However, since he was under someone else's roof, he couldn't speak too directly. Naruto waved and said, "Goodbye, Grandpa." Who taught you to pull up your pants and then ignore everyone else?" "It seems like no one taught you. Is it some kind of innate talent?" The third generation left in frustration. Naruto looked up at the clock on the wall. It was a little past 10 o'clock. It was still early before lunch, but considering the time spent buying groceries, it wasn't early at all. "It's my first time, so I'm going to the farmer's market to get familiar with the environment." Naruto picked up a bag of pebbles from the corner of the wall and went outside. There. Konoha village is prosperous and beautiful, and the villagers are all smiles of happiness. However, when a child comes into their view, his smile vanished instantly, replaced by a cold, disgusted, and even hateful gaze as he stared at Naruto. After Naruto walked away, the murmurs gradually rose. "Damn fox spirit, how is it still alive? Look, that monster is carrying a bag of stones. It looks like it wants to continue attacking us. My head injury hasn't healed yet. That reckless bastard, if it weren't for the protection of the Secret Service, he would have been killed long ago." Exactly. I wonder what the third Hokage was thinking. "SHH, stop talking. This is a taboo subject." Hearing the faint whispers behind him, Naruto sneered. Trash who can only offer incompetent mockery. This wasn't his first time going out. The previous times he had gone out, he had been met with scornful taunts. Nowadays, simply talking badly about people behind their backs is already a huge step forward. Of course, this is definitely not, because the villagers' personal qualities have improved. Those unruly people have absolutely no manners. The real reason is Naruto's own hard work. He'd smash a rock over the head of anyone who dared to insult him to his face. He's a time traveler, and his personality is different from the idiot in the original timeline. Chapter 2, Jinchuriki. He wouldn't tolerate being beaten and scolded without harboring resentment, and the idea of being perpetually sunny and passionate is simply non-existent. If you have a grudge, settle it on the spot. There's no need to endure it or hold it in. After all, he's a Jinchuriki, Konoha's strategic nuclear weapon. Let alone hitting people, as long as I don't cross that red line, Konoha will protect me even if I commit murder or arson. At most, they'll just be confined to their homes. What? Others are not satisfied. Keep your dissatisfaction to yourself. What? You want to replace me? Sure, then you should find a suitable person to choose from. Not just anyone can become a Jinchuriki. At this stage, Konoha simply cannot find anyone else suitable besides him. There was no way around it. Those who favored others were fearless. When Naruto threw stones at the troublemakers, he threw them with all his might, aiming to kill them without any fear of making things worse. As for the troublemakers who didn't believe in the concept of a Jinchuriki, they naturally retaliated, grabbing Naruto and giving him a good beating. Strangely, the Secret Service officers on duty at the time did not step in to stop it. This was completely unexpected by Naruto. Are you blind? Can't you see your nuclear weapons are being attacked? The incident ended with the leak of nuclear weapons, Naruto unleashing the Nine-Tails chakra to counterattack and cause chaos in Konoha. The ANBU on duty was severely punished. The thug who beat up Naruto went to jail, and Naruto received a reprimand from the third Hokage. I'm sorry, but I'll do it again next time. Naruto continued to do things his own way, daring to insult him and daring to smash things. The newly arrived secret agents dared not slack off, for there were precedents to learn from. The Anbu helped block anything or anyone that could harm Naruto, preventing him from getting hurt in the slightest. This resulted in a situation where Naruto was committing violence unilaterally, while the troublemakers were being beaten unilaterally. Over time, the troublemakers learned their lesson. They'll give you a friendly look to your face, but talk badly about you behind your back. As for taking action, that's out of the question. They'd rather die than do that. This bag of stones was prepared for nothing. Naruto was disappointed when he walked all the way to the market, but not a single troublemaker came out to get beaten up. Don't be cowards, you little bastards. Naruto casually tossed the bag of pebbles into a roadside trash can and strode into the market. Seeing this, the hidden agents breathed a sigh of relief, finally able to rest for a while. The third Hokage, who was observing Naruto through the crystal ball, also breathed a sigh of relief, finally relieved that he didn't have to clean up Naruto's mess. At this point, I hope readers will remember our domain name, 12,199.99. A bustling vegetable market. Naruto discovered an embarrassing fact. Most of the merchants, having been approached by his stone, refused to sell him anything. The remaining few merchants, having heard of his bad reputation, also refused to sell to him. Only one greedy merchant, pointing to a pumpkin that was half rotten and about to be thrown away as trash, chuckled and said, "Kid, take it for 300 taels, one price." The price has increased more than tenfold. Naruto said with a dark face, "Is your melon rind made of gold, or are the melon seeds made of gold?" "None of those, but I'm the only one here willing to sell to you." "Damn, you threw the stone too early." Naruto looked down and around at the ground, but couldn't find any stones. His gaze then fell on the pumpkin. Seeing Naruto reluctantly pick up the pumpkin, the merchant smiled happily and held out his hand, saying, "Pay up, 300 taels." Bang! The yellowish-brown pumpkin landed squarely in the vendor's face. Naruto coldly remarked, "Eat shit, you damn bastard." After saying that, he turned and left. The shopkeeper wiped his face, watching Naruto's departing figure, his expression uncertain. Damn it, if it weren't for. We're worried about being summoned by the secret police, and we're worried about the fox demon going berserk and killing people. How can we tolerate your arrogance? He clenched his fists, but ultimately dared not make a move, only standing there cursing incessantly. Back at the shop on the street, Naruto received an answer similar to that of the vegetable market. "You are not welcome here. Give up. I'd rather throw it away than sell it to you. We're closed today. I'm shutting down." A fox spirit. Aye. This time, Naruto had prepared stones, and when someone insulted him, he immediately threw a stone at them. "Go out." With a large bump on his head, the shop owner coldly pushed Naruto out of the shop. Bang! He slammed the shop door shut. After staring at the bakery for a while, Naruto didn't say anything and turned to go to other shops. The result remained unchanged, except for one store which stated that it had expired milk that needed to be disposed of. If needed, it can be sold at a higher price. Yes, that's right. Even though the milk is expired, the price is still increased. The reason is the same as that for selling pumpkins at the vegetable market. It was only then that Naruto finally understood why he, in the original story, drank expired milk and went hungry because he didn't have enough money. Drinking expired milk means that only expired milk is sold. The reason they went hungry was because their living expenses were already meager, barely enough to make ends meet, and then they were ripped off by unscrupulous merchants. It would be strange if they didn't go hungry. On the street, Naruto blocked a team of Uchiha police officers. "I want to report this. Unscrupulous merchants are selling expired milk, cheating consumers, and corrupting the reputation of Konoha. This kid seems to be the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. The relationship between the Uchiha and Konoha is currently more tense than ever. Random encounters are one thing, but prolonged contact could cause a huge uproar. The Uchiha captain, who was the leader, was a dove and thought it was better to avoid trouble, so he immediately refused. Just then, an Uchiha suddenly exclaimed indignantly, 'This is outrageous. They're even cheating kids. I can't stand it anymore. Tihuo, be mindful of your position and don't do anything unnecessary. Captain, we are from the police department, and it's our duty to handle these kinds of things. Come on, kid, lead the way, and I'll take care of you.' Uncle, my ass. My uncle died a long time ago. Who are you to call your uncle?" Naruto remained expressionless and did not resist, letting Uchiha Tetsuka pull him away. With the Secret Service there, he wasn't worried about his safety. "Aren't you going to stop it?" The ANBU member, monitoring Naruto, turned to look at his companion beside him. Another ANBU member said, "No, the Uchiha outnumber us, and we'd be at a disadvantage if we fought. Let's just watch. We won't get involved unless the Uchiha makes any further moves." "Yes, but this matter must be reported to the Hokage." "That's natural. The secret agents are experts at snitching." The third Hokage, who was broadcasting live from the crystal ball, already knew everything. After a moment of contemplation, he sent the Anbu to summon Uchiha Fugaku. They chatted casually for a while before getting to the point. "Fugaku, do you Uchiha have some designs on Kurama?" Of course, it wasn't said that bluntly, but that's the gist of it. "What makes you say such a thing, Hokage?" Fugaku was shocked and hurriedly tried to explain. I, Uchiha, am the most loyal retainer of Konoha and have absolutely no intention of any disloyalty. The third generation said meaningfully, Oh, it seems I misunderstood. I'm sorry, don't take it to heart. Aye, how could I not take it to heart? As Fugaku stepped out of the Hokage building, a cold wind blew past, and his forehead was covered in cold sweat. This is unbelievable. Kidnapping the Nine Tails and launching a coup was a plan he had always had in his mind, but he had never told anyone. How did the third Hokage find out about this? Chapter 3: Bad People Among the Crowd. No, buddy. Launching a coup was a plan he'd always had in his mind. But how did you know third generation? Answer me. After calming down, he suspected that he had inadvertently revealed his thoughts during his conversations with his tribesmen. Holy crap. There are bad guys among the crowd. So Fugaku quickly returned to his clan and immediately consulted with his trusted confidant, Uchiha Hachimokuren. Finally, the order was issued. Yashiro, conduct a secret investigation. Be careful not to alert anyone else. You must find the traitor. Yes, chieftain. 10 minutes later, Yatsushiro returned, bringing with him an iron fire. So the spy was Tetsuka. Yashiro's efficiency is really high. Fugaku glared fiercely at Tetsuka, slammed his fist on the table, and roared, What else do you have to say? The family has treated you well. Why did you betray them? Tihuo said aggrievedly, Clan leader, I'm innocent. I didn't betray the clan. Everything I did was for the clan's sake. For the sake of the family. You betrayed the Hokage for the sake of your clan. What kind of logic is that? How can there be such foolish people in the world? If it really exists. Fugaku declared that he was determined to strangle him. Besides, it was the Nine Tails Jinchuriki who came to us, not us who came to him. If we control the Nine Tails, our chances of successfully overthrowing Konoha are much higher. We can't let an opportunity slip by, so I thought I'd get to know the Nine Tails Jinchuriki first and see if there's a suitable opportunity to make a move. What is all this about? Fugaku was a little confused and turned his gaze to Yatsushiro. What happened? Here's what happened. Oh, I see. Why didn't you say so sooner, Yashiro? You almost embarrass me. Fugaku glared at Yatsushiro with displeasure, then coughed twice and said, Let's leave it at that. We've already alerted them. 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Ikaraku Ramen. May good people live in peace, and may bad people rest in peace. Beautiful and kind Sister Aim, may Naruto the great god bless you with a peaceful, happy and healthy life. Aim served a bowl of fragrant ramen, and Naruto, whose stomach was rumbling with hunger, drooled. It's not easy, but I can finally have lunch. Naruto drew a circle on his chest, then clasped his hands together, offering Aim his sincere blessings. Then he started eating the ramen in big mouthfuls. You could tell he was starving. Aim smiled slightly, didn't leave, and sat down opposite Naruto at the table, asking curiously, Who is Naruto-sama? How come he has the same name as you? Naruto looked up and said, Because Naruto, the great god, is me, I am Nichiren. I promise you a lifetime of happiness and carefree joy. As the designated savior, the second-generation ninja god, protecting an ordinary person. That's a piece of cake. Aim blinked, not taking it seriously, and joked. Then Naruto, you'd better grow up quickly. Your big sister is waiting for you. The ramen is originally 60 ryo a serving, but Aim is giving Naruto a special price of 40 ryo. In other words, Naruto's 500 ryo living expenses would mean he would starve to death on the streets after eating ramen a dozen times. Naruto could not accept this and had to find a way to support himself. After finishing his ramen and saying goodbye to Aim, Naruto returned home and changed into clothes he rarely wore. A long coat that reached her thighs, a black hood, and a scarf that covered most of her face except for her eyes. Standing in front of the mirror, examining his appearance, Naruto nodded in satisfaction and said, they shouldn't recognize me like this. It's a bit hot to wear this, after all. It's only October and the temperature isn't low. Out of caution, Naruto carried the bucket straight to the commercial area furthest from his home, an area he rarely visited. By a fishing rod and a fox mask. After hesitating for a moment, he bought a cheap knife, which nearly emptied Naruto's allowance. Clutching his empty wallet, Naruto was annoyed. That damned third Hokage. I'm going to tell Kushina you abused me. Go down there and get a beating. Aye. In the forest, by the river, Naruto set up his fishing rod and sat down to sharpen his harpoon and javelin with a knife. Harpooning fish, javelin hunting. It's best to be prepared for both possibilities, since Naruto doesn't know if he'll even be able to catch any fish. 2 hours later, Naruto made a simple harpoon and javelin, but he didn't catch a single fish and could only use the harpoon to catch them. Perhaps because he had been doing eye exercises since childhood, or perhaps because he often trained by hitting other people on the head, Naruto had good eyesight and speared 2 more fish in less than half a minute. Dinner is ready. As dusk approached and the sunset painted half the sky red, Naruto muttered, "Fine, I'm in a good mood today, so I'll let them off the hook. I'll settle the score with them tomorrow. Revenge doesn't need to wait overnight, but if it does, then it needs to be repaid double." The next morning, after finishing breakfast, Naruto carried a small stool and sat down in front of the Nishimura General Store. The shop owner, Nishimura, was the worst yesterday. As soon as he saw Naruto arrive, he immediately chased him away and closed the shop, preferring to stop doing business rather than sell anything to Naruto. Well, if that's the case, then let's keep it closed forever. Naruto is prepared for a long battle. I stuffed 2 cotton balls into my ears to block out the noise, then picked up the wood in my left hand and the knife in my right, and started working, immersing myself in the carving. When he came to his senses, the sun was shining brightly overhead, and Naruto looked at the completely distorted Fu Hua in his hand. I sighed inwardly. My skills still need some refinement. He has some experience in carving, but not much. In my previous life, it was all out of interest. In this life, it's something I just came into contact with. Is this wife I sculpted? She's really not presentable. She has no breasts, she has no butt. Oh wait, it seems that the Shenju tablet didn't originally have breasts and buttocks, so it's okay. Naruto removed the cotton from his ear, turned around, and saw the general store owner with a resentful look in his eyes. He smiled gently. Yes, that's the look in your eyes. But this is just the beginning. You're in for a world of hurt. Obviously, given Naruto's current reputation, even dogs would spit in his presence. The villagers would avoid him with disgust whenever they saw him, which greatly affected the grocery store's business. Wearing a fox mask to conceal his identity, Naruto bought bread for lunch and then spent an hour catching rabbits in the forest and catching fish in the river. Unfortunately, the 3-year-old's short legs were too slow, and he didn't catch the rabbit. He only managed to spear 2 fish for dinner. At 2 p.m., Naruto arrived at the general store and continued his shift. The furious boss yelled at Naruto, "You troublemaker, get the hell away from me." Naruto was engrossed in carving his wife, occasionally throwing a pebble at insults like demon fox when he heard them, ignoring everything else. I left in the evening. The second day, the third day, the fourth day. Aside from eating, sleeping, going to the toilet, and catching fish and hunting, Naruto spent all his time sitting outside the general store, his patience unlike that of a 3-year-old, which caused Nishimura's plans to fail. I thought kids are naturally active and wouldn't be able to hold back for long, but I never expected to run into Naruto, this weirdo. Chapter 4: Business. The frustrated boss never expected to encounter such a freak as Naruto. You can't drive Naruto away with words, and you might even get beaten up. As for taking action, you might end up in jail. Left with no other option, the frustrated boss sought help from the police department. This land is under the jurisdiction of the police department, but under the warning of the third Hokage and the order of Fugaku, the police department dares not interfere with Naruto's affairs. They refused to do it, and even issued warnings to the shop owner. Get lost. Don't try to scam us, or we'll arrest you. The fox demon has a deep background. Nishimura was once again convinced of this truth, and felt that Konoha was truly too dark. Just as Nishimura was feeling disheartened and about to leave, one of the Uchiha clan members suggested, for certain reasons, it's not convenient for our police department to get involved, but I suggest you go directly to the Hokage. Upon hearing this, Nishimura outwardly agreed, but inwardly he cursed. The Uchiha clan members are indeed all extremely wicked. They actually harmed him for no reason. Putting aside whether he could even meet the Hokage given his status, even if he could, what difference would it make? Almost everyone knows that Naruto's arrogance is entirely due to the protection of the Anbu, which is directly under the Hokage's command. So, do we even need to say who Naruto's biggest backer is? Going to the Hokage for help is practically suicide. This reveals Nishimura's dark side. Although the third generation has many flaws, they are not too bad to the villagers and are still considered reliable. Before Nishimura could even speak, the third Hokage approached Naruto and urged him to be kind and let the man go. Naruto scoffed. Stop pretending to be a big shot. If I let him go, who will let me go? And ultimately, this matter is due to your inaction as the third Hokage, allowing rumors to arise and spread. None of this would have happened without the rumors. If I repay evil with kindness, how will I repay kindness? My demands aren't high. As long as he apologizes to me and promises to treat me like a normal customer from now on, I'll leave immediately. Are the requirements high? 3 generations ask themselves honestly. The demands are minimal. A verbal apology is all it takes. It's just normal business. The grocery store suffered no loss. But it's meaningless. They may verbally agree, but they are not convinced in their hearts. There are many people in Konoha who hate Naruto, so forcing Nishimura to apologize is useless. On the contrary, it might incite resentment among others, making them dislike Naruto even more. It doesn't matter. To me, 99 and 100 make no difference. Naruto, you'll never make any friends like this. People who don't care and are bound by prejudice don't deserve to be my friends. The third generation felt a headache after hearing this. How can you not care? If things continue like this, how can you shoulder the heavy responsibility of protecting the village? After sitting on the job for over a month, when Naruto had meticulously crafted a presentable wife, Nishimura finally knelt down in admiration. He was a middle-aged man with elderly parents and young children to support. His entire family depended on this grocery store for their livelihood. It's foolish to ruin your livelihood just because of personal likes or dislikes. I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. From now on, I'll give you a 50% discount on everything you buy at my store. Please forgive me. Nishimura handed over a stack of banknotes with both hands, kneeling down in humiliation before the 3-year-old child and begging for forgiveness. Fortunately, it was inside a general store, and no one else saw him. Otherwise, he would have no face to live in Konoha afterward. Naruto's eyes lit up. He took the banknotes and quickly counted them. 1,000 taels, enough for 2 months' living expenses. I accept your sincerity. With the money tucked into his pocket, Naruto patted his shoulder with his small hand and said with satisfaction, "It's great that you know you've made a mistake and can correct it. I'm being magnanimous this time, and I forgive you. I hope you won't do it again." Yes, 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 brother. Whatever you say is right. Let's go quickly. Nishimura nodded repeatedly in agreement, eager to get rid of the plague as soon as possible. The moment the plague god left, Nishimura breathed a long sigh of relief. 30 seconds later, he looked at Naruto, who had returned with a blank expression. Naruto explained, "Don't misunderstand, I'm not backing out. I just want to do business with you. I don't want to do business with you, I just want you to get lost." Ignoring Nishimura's dismissive expression, Naruto continued, "Do you have any business enemies? Do you need me to go sit outside their shop for you? Wait a minute. This business deal seems like something I could consider." By the way, Nagachi has been incredibly arrogant lately, constantly mocking Nishimura for not being able to beat a 3-year-old kid, making Nishimura lose face on social media. Now that we have the opportunity, it's a good chance for him to experience the pain I've suffered. That. Nishimura opened his mouth as if to speak, but then, remembering Naruto's infamous reputation, he quickly shut his mouth. Colluding with the demon fox to harm others is too sensitive a matter. Nishimura doesn't trust Naruto. If it gets leaked, he'll be close to social death. Seeing this, Naruto frowned, pondered for a moment, and seemed to understand something. He then raised his hand and said solemnly, "I swear by my most respected grandfathers of 3 generations, if I leak this secret, may I be struck by lightning and never be reincarnated." In the end, Nishimura could not suppress his hatred for his enemy and took out 1,000 ryo to ask Naruto to cause trouble. Okay, now they've turned into the mafia. Thus, Naruto embarked on a path he had never imagined. 2 weeks later, as expected, Nagachi, whom Nishimura had asked Naruto to take revenge on, also knelt down and apologized to Naruto, paying him money in return. After receiving the money, Naruto used the same trick again, slightly altering the words he had spoken to Nishimura and telling them to Nagachi. Nagachi suddenly realized, so it was Nishimura who sent you. Exposing one's employer is not allowed, Naruto argued. No. Nagachi waved his hand and said, "No need to say anything. I've been fighting with Nishimura for decades. I know what kind of person he is. He's petty. Tell me how much he paid you. I'll give you double. You can go back to sitting in front of his shop. But this isn't about money." 3 times. Naruto shook his head and said, "I refuse. I've already said it's not about money. My feud with Nishimura is over. We have no grudges now, so I can't just attack him. In addition, one should have a long-term vision when doing business. Turning your back on your employer is strictly prohibited in the ninja world. Once your reputation is ruined, you'll never get any more orders." Aside from his arch-rival Nishimura, Nagachi dislikes the clothing store owner on the next street the most. That bastard sold him counterfeit goods last week, and he's been refusing to admit it. It's infuriating. This is 1,000 taels, you little devil. Get rid of him. Naruto accepted the order. The clothing store had also tried to drive him away, so it was a potential target. But having learned from the 2 previous mistakes, the clothing store owner quickly backed down. surrendering in less than a week and offering Naruto 1,000 taels in compensation. But after Naruto revealed that he could do business with him, he offered Naruto a reward of 1,000 taels of silver and asked him to cause trouble at the clothing store across the street. With 3 precedents to follow, clothing stores will be even more likely to fail. But unfortunately, this guy is a coward. He's too scared to do business with Naruto. Naruto expressed his deep regret. But it doesn't matter. Naruto has found his own ninja way. Chapter 5 was he cheated on. When Naruto found his ninja way, he began to take the initiative, unafraid of the strange looks from others, and embarked on his journey in the underworld. Target all shops that don't sell him anything. Konoha Year 54, end of the year. Konoha Village. In the forest, a grey rabbit was running away quickly, with Naruto holding a javelin in hot pursuit. During this period, Naruto earned a lot of money, tens of thousands of taels, enough for him to live a good life for a while. But I couldn't control myself for a moment and bought a set of tools specifically for carving, and I was instantly brought back to my old ways. Although they weren't starving, they still had to go out fishing and hunting frequently to supplement their income. Most of the time, they were catching fish. For a 3-year-old child, hunting is simply too much to ask. Just like now, the rabbit was chasing further and further away and was about to disappear. In his haste, Naruto threw the object with all his might, regardless of whether it would hit its target. Call out. A moment later, a scream echoed from the depths of the forest, followed by an angry male voice shouting, "Damn it, which bastard attacked me? Oh no, we're doomed. We've stabbed someone." Shrinking his neck, Naruto silently turned around, just as he was about to run away. The man who had been accidentally injured had already rushed over. "Kid, is that you?" The man was wearing a black mask and had a stab wound on his groin. He held a blood-stained javelin and stood menacingly in front of Naruto. "Who are you?" Naruto looked closely and discovered that the other person was carrying a little girl about his age on their back. Her appearance is quite familiar. If Naruto isn't mistaken, it should be Hinata Hyuga. Naruto suddenly realized, you Cloud Ninja have come to Konoha again to kidnap little girls. First there was Kushina, now there's Hinata. One is a mother, the other is an official wife. Both of them are women who are close to Naruto. It's like the Cloud Village has a deep-seated hatred for Naruto. It's decided. If I become the Azure Emperor in the future, I will definitely crush Union to the ground. Naruto secretly made a vow. The Cloud Ninja's name is Takayama. He is a member of the Cloud Village delegation that came to Konoha for negotiations the day before yesterday. He is currently on a mission to steal a little girl. The operation is progressing smoothly. But then disaster struck. A javelin suddenly flew at him, catching him off guard and nearly robbing him of his manhood. Enraged by such a deep-seated hatred, Gao Shan charged forward without regard for anything else. Hearing Naruto reveal his identity so readily, Takayama grew even more emboldened and sneered. "Kid, didn't your master tell you that knowing too much is a bad thing?" Naruto calmly said, "My family told me that men who abduct little girls will die a horrible death." As soon as he finished speaking, 2 ANBU appeared and stood in front of Naruto. The ANBU member wearing the bullhead mask said in a deep voice, "Yue, take Naruto away immediately." "Leave this to me." The ANBU member wearing the dog head mask nodded, picked up Naruto, and ran away. Feeling the softness of the ANBU's chest, Naruto realized that this must be a female ninja. And she's a very beautiful female ninja. As for why Naruto knew the female ninja was beautiful. Of course, I guessed. Men are all like that. They tend to think the best of women they haven't seen clearly. But pretty female ninjas aren't important right now. The important thing is that Naruto doesn't want to leave. He wants to see real ninja battles. Naruto struggled to say, "Let's stay and help." Behave yourself. What good can a little kid like you do? You're lucky if you don't cause trouble. Yue kept moving and tightened her arms to hug Naruto even more. Immersed in the bouncy texture, Naruto felt dizzy. The Dark Division's mission is to protect your safety. We can't take any risks, especially since you're incredibly powerful. Bang! A figure flew backward and crashed to the ground. It was the powerful senior member of the Dark Guard. The senior ANBU member, unable to muster any more strength, could only weakly remind him, "Cough, cough, Yue, run." The opponent is a Jonin. Jonin are the elite force of a ninja village, and their numbers are scarce. Even Konoha cannot afford to use Jonin to protect Naruto. Both of them were Chunin, and even working together they couldn't defeat a Jonin, let alone attacking alone. It would be like offering themselves up for death. Takayama intercepted the fleeing Tsuki, looked at Naruto in her arms, licked his lips, and smiled smugly. "I think I've run into a big fish. Hand him over, and I'll spare your life." Clang! The one who answered Takayama was to draw his sword and confront him. Tsuki put Naruto down, his gaze never leaving Takayama, and said seriously to Naruto, "Quick! Run into the village and don't look back. Someone will come to rescue you." I immediately understood. Without any power of my own, staying here would be pointless and would only be a hindrance. For the first time in his life, Naruto clearly felt the importance of power in the dangerous ninja world. Power, oh power, I want power too. As he fled, Naruto clenched his fists and thought to himself, "The dance of the crescent moon." A faint, cold female voice came from behind, followed by a metallic clanging sound. A minute later, Naruto looked at the disheveled mountain in front of him, holding a blood-stained kunai, and reluctantly stopped running. Takayama said dejectedly, "Kid, who exactly are you? Why are the Konoha, Anbu risking their lives to stop me?" Risking their lives. Naruto's face darkened as he considered a certain possibility. "It's fine if you don't tell me. We'll find out by taking you back and torturing you, hee." As he spoke, Takayama pressed closer and closer to Naruto. Naruto tried to stall for time. "Wait, I'll talk." Gao Shan gave him no chance. "I'm not waiting. We've already wasted too much time. I'm going to grab you now. Surrender. You fucking..." Naruto took a deep breath, retreating step by step, inwardly cursing the Konoha villagers for being a bunch of idiots who hadn't come yet. He feigned anger and said, "Does Kumagakyo want to start a war?" That sounds so familiar. "Oh right, this is something we Cloud Ninja often say to Konoha." Gao Shan said with a strange expression, You think you can start a war?" Naruto proudly puffed out his chest and said, "Of course, the third Hokage knows, right? He called me Grandpa." "You're kidding me." "Sorry, it was a slip of the tongue. I meant to call him Grandpa 3 generations. You're the grandson of the third Hokage." Takayama sized up Naruto. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and 6 distinctive whiskers on each cheek. He thought to himself, "This isn't right. I've seen the third Hokage before, but he doesn't look like this. Does this mean the son of the third generation was cheated on, or that the third generation himself was cheated on? Forget it. Who cares who cheated on whom? Let's arrest them first. Anyway, Konoha is a bunch of cowards. Even if we Kumagakyo arrest the third Hokage's grandfather, Konoha will probably just pretend nothing happened." Thinking this with such confidence, Takayama ignored Naruto's threatening words and resolutely extended his claws towards Naruto. Chapter 6: Never Give Up. Takayama resolutely extended his evil claws towards Naruto. Seeing this, Naruto took off running. But the next moment, fate grabbed him by the back of the neck. Lifting Naruto up like a chick, Takayama grinned and said, "Konoha will be heartbroken to lose such a genius like you." That's right, Takayama believes Naruto is a genius. A 3-year-old kid, facing a formidable enemy, not only didn't cower in fear, but calmly dealt with the situation, trying every possible way to stall for time. Although it wasn't successful, it was good enough that it shouldn't be criticized. Calling it genius wouldn't be an exaggeration. The king cannot be humiliated. Naruto twisted his body continuously, unleashing the 9 heavens thunder double kick. Takayama, growing impatient, raised his palm like a blade, about to knock Naruto unconscious, when a loud shout came from afar. "You're asking for it. How dare you steal my daughter?" 8 trigrams, empty palm. The air compressed rapidly, pressing down on the mountains in an instant. Oh no, we've been discovered. With Naruto in his left hand and Hinata in his right, Takayama had no time to defend. In a flash, Takayama threw out Naruto, whom he considered of low value, as a substitute for defense, and then quickly fled with Hinata. Bang! The palm strike grazed Naruto's scalp before snapping the tree in half. The 9 tails, Jinchuriki. What's this guy doing here? Looking at the little blonde creature in his hand, Hyuga Hayashi frowned. Fortunately, the attack was deflected in time. Otherwise, if the 9 tails Jinchuriki had been killed, the Hyuga clan might have faced annihilation. Hisashi, protect him well, and make sure nothing goes wrong. I'm going to continue chasing the enemy. The Japanese football team chased after the mountain, its silhouette gradually disappearing into the distance. Having narrowly escaped death, Naruto wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and turned to look. A man with a disdainful look stood beside him. His appearance is almost identical to that of Hayashi Hyuga. That's right, you are Hyuga Hisashi, a tragic character. Naruto pondered for a moment and said, "The enemy is the Cloud Ninja." Hisashi was taken aback by this, thinking, why bring this up all of a sudden? So what if the enemy is the Cloud Ninja? Do you think I'd be afraid? Ridiculous. No matter who bullies the Hyuga, they'll pay the price, and the Cloud Ninja will be no exception. Wait, where did these Cloud Ninja come from in Konoha? Seemingly remembering something, Hisashi's pupils contracted, and he looked at Naruto with the eyes of someone looking at a monster. How could you think so far ahead? Are you really only 3 years old? What do you mean? Naruto appeared bewildered, but inwardly he was filled with suspicion. Damn it, I should have kept quiet. What I mean is... No, I'm probably overthinking it. That's what they said, but Hisashi didn't dare to gamble. He entrusted Naruto to the ANBU who were rushing over, and went after Hisashi himself. Hopefully, it's not too late. Risa prayed sincerely. Hey, brother, stop. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Rigi, filled with rage, unleashed palm strikes, each one deadly. His set of soft fist techniques flowed smoothly and effortlessly, displaying the demeanor of a Tai Kai master. When the sun came close, the mountain had turned into a lump of mud, dead beyond any doubt. Hijiri lamented, "My brother has caused a terrible disaster." Hayashi was comforting Hinata, who had just woken up and looked dazed, when he heard his younger brother's words and said unhappily, "Hashi, what discouraging things are you saying? We, the Hyuga, are the #1 clan in Konoha." He couldn't continue playing because Risha pulled down the mask of the mountain, revealing his true face. The Cloud Recluse. Like a pervert, the third Hokage lifted Naruto's clothes, and seeing that the nine-tailed seal was intact, he breathed a sigh of relief and smiled kindly. "Little Naruto, were you scared?" Naruto crossed his arms, took a step back, and said warily, "You scared me." The third Hokage gave an awkward smile. It seems that little Naruto is very brave and was not scared by the enemy. Naruto retorted, "You're scared by your own people, aren't you?" The three generations kept silent. Naruto didn't press the matter further, instead asking, "Are the two ANBU members who protected me before still alive?" The third Hokage was taken aback, then said with relief, "Naruto has grown up and knows how to care for his comrades." Naruto remained expressionless and silent. The third generation didn't take it seriously and explained, "The two ANBU are still alive. The enemy was probably in a hurry to capture you and didn't have time to kill you. Although you were seriously injured, you have received timely treatment and are not in any danger of death." An ANBU member came to report, "Hokage-sama, the enemy was Takayama, a messenger from Kumagakure who has now been killed by Hayashi Hyuga." Hayashi also arrived, but he was completely devoid of the domineering aura of the #1 clan in Konoha. He nervously apologized to the third Hokage. The third Hokage waved his hand and said, "Hayashi, what are you saying? You did nothing wrong. I already know about this matter. It's all Kumagakure's fault. If Kumagakure doesn't give Konoha an explanation, Konoha will never let this go." Seeing that the third Hokage had no intention of throwing Hyuga out as a scapegoat, Hayashi was moved to tears. "Thank you, Hokage-sama. Hyuga will always be a part of Konoha." Aye. 3 days later, the Hyuga clan handed over Hisashi's body, and Konoha and Kumagakure subsequently reached an understanding and signed a peace treaty. The heavy snow fell for 3 days, covering the entire Hidden Leaf village in a blanket of white. Hinata ran out of the Hyuga clan's house, feeling dejected. She felt uncomfortable staying at home. The heavy atmosphere and strange looks made it almost suffocating for her. Hinata didn't understand and couldn't comprehend why her home suddenly felt so unfamiliar. "I don't understand anything, I only know, from that day on." She never saw Uncle Hisashi again. Her father never smiled again. He became much stricter with her training, often sighing as he looked at her, and Neji no longer played with her, instead coldly pushing her away. "Why? What happened? Did I do something wrong?" No one answered Hinata's question. Only her mother hugged her and comforted her, saying, "No, Hinata, you did nothing wrong. It's the fault of the other bad people who angered your father and clan. Be good lately, and things will get better in a while." Hinata obeyed her mother's instructions and behaved very obediently and carefully in every move. She was feeling quite stifled and was only now able to catch her breath. Hinata ran aimlessly through the snow-covered streets. When she finally stopped, she stared at the unfamiliar surroundings and froze. "Where is this? How do I get back?" Aye. As Naruto stepped out of his house, a biting wind blew, and he couldn't help but shiver. "It's a bit cold. I really want to stay home and not go out." However, this was just a thought. Having made up his mind to train hard, he couldn't afford to slack off. Naruto patted his cheeks, perked up, and started running to exercise. This is something that didn't exist before, but it has appeared now because Naruto desires to have the strength to protect himself. Although in theory he is safe in Konoha, even the greatest danger, Danzo, is blocked by the third Hokage, so he doesn't need to worry about him. Just live a peaceful life. But after his experience with the Cloud Ninja, Naruto realized that there is no absolutely safe place in the ninja world, and Konoha is no exception. No one knows whether tomorrow or an accident will come first. Chapter 7, Hinata Hyuga. Naruto never knows whether tomorrow or an accident will come first. Therefore, the most reliable thing is one's own strength. However, 3 years old is too early to even refine chakra, so there's not much he can do. After much thought, the only thing I could do was to exercise. The body is the foundation of everything. In the world of ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu, having a strong body is of great benefit to any type of ninja. Conversely, at best, one is a one-dimensional talent, and one-dimensional talents cannot go far. In a secluded alley, 3 mischievous children were bullying Hinata. Sai, is this what they call the white eye? Hey, your eyes look disgusting. Are you some kind of monster with white eyes? Let's work together to drive away the white-eyed monster. The brat was all smiles, ignorant yet fearless. He had never experienced the harsh realities of society and had no concept of the Hyuga clan's elite status. He even dared to bully the young lady of the Hyuga clan. If their parents were here, they would probably be so frightened that they would kneel down and apologize, begging for forgiveness. It's not. Feeling wronged, pitiful, and helpless, Hinata had tears in her eyes. She stammered for a long time, without being able to utter a complete sentence before collapsing onto the snow. Instantly, her tears flowed even more, while the child's laughter grew even more joyful. Bang, bang, bang. The laughter stopped abruptly as 3 snowballs slammed into the faces of the mischievous children, turning their faces red. Who is it? The brat looked up angrily and saw Naruto running by. Aren't you going to get lost? As he spoke, Naruto threw 3 more snowballs in quick succession. The brat got angry. What an arrogant kid. Doesn't he know this street is his territory? Just as they were about to take action, a mischievous child noticed the 6 whiskers on Naruto's cheeks and, remembering the warnings from the adults at home, turned terrified. Wait, no, don't go. He is a fox demon. After being reminded, the other 2 mischievous kids also recognized Naruto. Whoa, it really is a fox spirit. Run. Don't let the fox spirit eat you. The fake white-eyed monster. The brats dared to bully it, but when they encountered the real fox spirit, the 3 brats screamed in terror and ran away. She even fell several times because she was so scared. But they didn't dare linger for a moment. They wiped their noses, got up immediately, and continued running. No, have the rumors in the village become this exaggerated? They're even worse than in the original timeline. However, upon closer reflection, it's not surprising. In the original timeline, Naruto was a dumping ground for the negative emotions of the Konoha villagers, while in the present timeline, Naruto is at odds with the troublemakers. Not only did it fail to release negative emotions, it actually increased them, along with the bumps on my head. It goes without saying, which is more annoying. But it's okay. It's just the opinion of a bunch of troublemakers. I don't care. Composing himself, Naruto turned his gaze to Hinata. Hinata had somehow gotten up and was quietly slipping away. What are you doing? Hinata fell again, her face showing weakness, sitting on the ground trembling. No, don't eat me. If you weren't likely to be my future wife, I would have punched you to teach you a lesson in manners. After more than 10 minutes, Naruto finally made the little girl understand that he doesn't eat people, isn't a demon fox, and that the brat's lies shouldn't be believed. I'm leaving now. See you again sometime. He waved his hand and prepared to continue running. The next moment, he turned around speechlessly and looked at Hinata, who was tightly clutching his clothes and refusing to let him go. What's up? Hinata looked hesitant and aggrieved, tears welling up in her eyes, but she couldn't utter a word. Naruto was getting anxious for her and said in a slightly harsher tone, "Just say what you want to say." As soon as she finished speaking, Hinata burst into tears and was unable to say another word. "Why are you crying? Is it really necessary?" Naruto was dumbfounded, and Fuqua suddenly realized a truth. Girls are very troublesome creatures, and one must be careful when raising them. Out of consideration for his future wife, Naruto spent more than 10 minutes comforting Hinata and learned why she didn't want him to leave. "Lost. Want me to show you the way? You can get lost even with an eye roll. I've never seen anything like it." Naruto subtly scrutinized Hinata and had to admit it. Although his future wife is beautiful, comes from a wealthy family, has a great figure, and is completely devoted to him. But he is truly useless, and exceptionally so, a complete waste of his high-quality white eyes. Hinata lowered her head in shame, her face flushed. She didn't want to, but there was nothing she could do. She just couldn't do it. With a sigh, Naruto patted Hinata on the shoulder and said earnestly, "Hinata, you have to work hard and strive for success. Otherwise, how will you be worthy of me in the future? You know, the future is not set in stone. I can't say for sure whether I'll marry you or not. I can only say that you are the most likely candidate. But don't be arrogant. The official pairing isn't a magic bullet. Don't take advantage of your status to lie down and be lazy. If you don't work hard, your official pairing will disappear or be transferred. Okay, let's stop here for now. Take my hand, and I'll take you home." Hyuga family. Miss is back. The clansmen who had gone out to search for Hinata came to Hayashi and reported the details to him. Ninetales, Jinchuriki. How could Hinata have come into contact with the Ninetales Jinchuriki? Hayashi couldn't help but frown. For a large clan like the Hyuga, the Ninetales Jinchuriki was a very troublesome character, and they always tried to avoid contact with him as much as possible. Just like some time ago, after the Uchiha had a brief encounter with the Ninetales Jinchuriki, they were immediately warned by the third Hokage. Learning from past mistakes is crucial. Hyuga must not repeat them, especially given the sensitive timing. It would be bad if Konoha misunderstood that Hyuga harbored resentment and was plotting against Kurama. Thinking of this, Hyuga clenched his fists, feeling extremely frustrated. It was clearly Hyuga who suffered a huge loss, but now, side daily rates. Father. Hinata changed into a small kimono and walked up to Hayashi to greet him. Looking at Hinata, Hayashi remained silent for a moment before slowly saying, "Hinata, tell me what happened to you outside." Hinata nodded weakly and began to tell her story slowly. Hayashi was furious when he heard that his daughter had been bullied by some unruly child. There were comments directed at the mischievous child, and even more so at Hinata. That's too cowardly. It's a disgrace that the dignified young lady of the Hyuga Main family was bullied by a bunch of ordinary kids. Seeing her father's grim expression, Hinata was too frightened to speak. This sight angered the old father even more. How could someone so timid possibly shoulder the heavy responsibilities of the family in the future? Taking a deep breath, Hayashi suppressed his anger and tried to remain calm as he spoke. "Go on, focus on. How did you meet the child who took you home?" "Yes, father, but I subconsciously skipped over some of them." Chapter 8 was a bit disgusting. Hinata, having subconsciously skipped over embarrassing words like worthy of, "I'll marry you," and official couple, told Hayashi about how Naruto saved her, chased away the bad guys, encouraged her to cheer up, and took her home. Hinata's face was flushed, and her eyes were sparkling. She had completely lost her previous timidity, and Hayashi was momentarily dazed. This must be an illusion, right? Yes, that's right. It's an illusion. This child is only 3 years old. After Hinata finished speaking, Hayashi didn't say anything about not contacting the blonde-haired boy in the future, but simply instructed, "Don't run around like that anymore. If you want to go out, tell your family so an adult can take you." With adults watching, Hinata shouldn't have had any chance to come into contact with the blonde guy. Hinata resumed her original posture and nodded weakly. "My head hurts." Hayashi rubbed his temples and sighed. "Hinata, don't let your uncle's sacrifice be in vain." The arrival of the new year brought Naruto's money-making endeavors into deep waters, where he suffered a severe setback. The fruit shop owner fired the first shot in the rebellion against Naruto. "You little fox demon, you could sit at my doorstep forever, but I would never yield to you." Because his family members all died in the nine-tailed fox's rampage, he was the only one left. The fruit shop owner harbored deep hatred for Naruto, who was responsible for all of this, and preferred to go bankrupt rather than surrender to Naruto. This resolute action garnered sympathy and solidarity from other merchants who had lost loved ones in the nine-tailed fox's rampage. "Well said. We support you. We absolutely cannot let that brat continue to be so arrogant. We will not give in." They refused to apologize, refused to pay compensation, and refused to sell merchandise to Naruto. Because they hate Naruto more than money. If they can make Naruto unhappy, it will be worth it even if their shop goes out of business. The result was completely unexpected. These protesters' shops not only didn't go out of business, but their business became more and more booming, with a large number of villagers coming to shop and even forming long queues, making it like a popular spot for online celebrities to take photos. The villagers said smugly, "Kid, we already know what you're doing. Let me tell you, you won't get away with this. The longer you sit here, the more we'll support the shop owner." The villagers deeply resented Naruto for exploiting their hatred to force merchants to apologize and for making huge profits. They wanted Naruto to suffer misery and pain so that they could feel satisfied. They didn't want to see Naruto living a carefree and happy life, and they even unintentionally contributed to it. This disgusted them. Therefore, the villagers had long harbored the idea of doing the opposite and disgusting Naruto. Unfortunately, the merchants who had previously helped them were too weak-willed, and the villagers knelt down before they could offer any assistance. Now that a tough nut has finally been cracked, they've become excited and are rushing to support the shop owner. Leverage. Leverage to the end. Leverage to the death. We're backing you up. Naruto switched to a different shop, and the villagers followed suit, lining up to work there. As a result, the shop owner's business boomed, and he made a fortune. Merchants who were still observing were extremely envious. They could punish the annoying fox demon and make money at the same time. They decided to do it. "We hate fox spirits too. Everyone come and buy things from our shop." They, including businesses that had already yielded and apologized, joined the wave of boycotting Naruto. They wouldn't sell a single grain of rice, not even expired food. It seemed they wanted to starve Naruto. The wave of boycotts was overwhelming, and because there were so many people boycotting, it even started to swell up. Incomplete rebuttal is equivalent to no rebuttal at all. Simply refusing to sell isn't enough. They have to curse loudly, but that's still not enough. Some even threaten physical violence. Boom. 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 But thanks to Naruto's teachings, the merchants remembered Naruto's background and the Anbu that protected him. Money is something you need to earn, but you also need to be alive to spend it. The merchants abandoned their intention to take action and dared not curse Naruto to his face. They could only curse Naruto behind his back and spread increasingly vicious rumors. Oh yeah, how can there be so many people? Outside the dumpling shop, Uchiha Shisui looked at the queue that stretched into the street with a look of surprise. Is it really that popular? But it didn't seem like this last time I came. There! Itachi Uchiha held his younger brother Sasuke Uchiha's hand and gestured for Shisui to look towards the entrance of the dumpling shop. The blonde-haired boy sat at the entrance of the dumpling shop, carving something with a focused and serious expression, completely ignoring the disgusted and indifferent gazes of the people in the queue next to him. Hey! Sasuke looked at Naruto, and a strange feeling arose within him. Naruto subconsciously raised his head and met Sasuke's gaze. 2 pillars. The 2 on the side. The one with the tear trough face should be I versus 7, and the one with the round nose should be Uchiha Shisui. Having guessed the identities of the 3 people, Naruto didn't think much of it. He nodded to them as a greeting, then lowered his head and continued carving his wife. This time he chose a wife with big breasts, the Thunder General. The 3 Uchiha were taken aback when Naruto greeted them. This child. Shisui knew him, or most of the ninjas knew him, since Naruto's identity wasn't exactly a secret. But aside from ordinary people with mental problems, any ninja with a little knowledge knows that Naruto is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki of their village and must be treated with utmost care. After a moment's thought, Jai Shui asked, "Is the good business here related to him?" He went out of the village on a mission and just returned. He is unaware of what happened in the village. Itachi nodded and said, "The villagers hate him. Wherever he sits in front of a shop, that shop will do well." Shisui didn't understand, but is there any necessary connection between them? Why don't you make your point clearer? Itachi didn't keep them in suspense and briefly explained the reason. Sasuke was confused, wondering what the fox spirit was and why everyone hated it. Shisui's expression darkened slightly. Isn't the village doing anything about it? The Jinchuriki is a vital asset to the village. Not only are they not treated well, but they are also subjected to passive-aggressive treatment. What kind of brain-dead pills have they taken? Itachi sighed softly. The village might have other ideas. As members of Konoha's spirit, Itachi and Shisui cared more about the village's interests than the Hokage, and longed to change the unpopular situation of Jinchuriki. But the 2 exchanged a glance and couldn't help but smile wryly. Since the Nine-Tails rampage, Uchiha people must not interfere in the affairs of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki has become an ironclad rule of Konoha. Even though they were trusted by 3 generations, they were no exception. Besides, the Uchiha clan itself is in dire straits, and they don't have the energy to get involved. Sasuke, growing impatient, shook Itachi's hand and asked, "Brother, are we still having dumplings?" Itachi smiled and said, "I'm not eating here. Let's go to another restaurant." This shop. While ignorance is no excuse, making money by bullying children is really disgusting. Jai Shui agreed. Then let's go to another place, it's on me. Chapter 9, Black and Red are also red. Then let's go to another place. My treat. Who told you to treat me? Get out of here. I want to be alone with my older brother. Sasuke glared at Shisui with a displeased expression. Oi, kid, stop sitting here, it's useless. The longer you sit here, the more money they make, the happier they are. You won't get any revenge. A shadow suddenly blocked Naruto's view of the sunlight. Naruto put down his work, looked up, and saw a girl with purple hair and brown eyes, dressed in a fishnet outfit, standing in front of him. While eating meatballs, he seemed to be saying something. Beside the girl, a beautiful woman with black curly hair and red eyes, looked at the purple-haired girl with a helpless expression, and sometimes looked at Naruto with great curiosity. These two women, judging from their appearance, seemed to be Mitarashi Anko and Yuhei Kurenai. Why are they coming to see me? Aren't they afraid of being summoned by the secret police? Who are you? Taking off his earplugs, Naruto asked a question he already knew the answer to. Seeing this, Hongdu paused in her eating of the meatballs. It turned out she hadn't heard a word I said. Oh well, all my words were wasted. Don't worry about who I am for now. Hongdu ate her meatballs unhappily and then suggested, just listen to me, go sit in front of another meatball shop, and you'll definitely make the owner of this meatball shop suffer. Upon hearing this, the owner of the meatball shop, who was not far away, immediately became restless. He walked over and said in a deep voice, Miss, you've been a regular customer of my shop for many years. How could you do such a thing? Hongdu devoured a skewer of meatballs and said indignantly, You know I'm a regular customer, right? You still made me wait in line for so long even though you know I'm a regular customer. It usually only takes 10 minutes, but this time it took me more than an hour. Boss. So, this is a story of love turning into hate. Kurenai couldn't help but want to laugh. Miss, let's talk over here. There are many people around, so the boss wants to lead Hongdu to a less crowded place to discuss things. You're only thinking of bribing me now. Too bad it's too late. Red Bean continued to persuade Naruto to switch to another shop, and the shop owner got anxious and kept giving Naruto meaningful glances. Something's wrong. Something's amiss. Kurenai's eyes narrowed, realizing that things were not so simple. Naruto stood up, looked around at the customers who were watching him, and said to Anko in a firm voice, I know you're right, but I refuse. Just because something is right doesn't mean I have to do it. For the sake of my pride, even if it's wrong, I'll fight them to the end to show my unwavering determination. On the way back, Hongdu held her favorite meatballs, but had no appetite for them. Her expression was complicated as she said, Hong, do you think that kid is stupid? He knows it's wrong. Admittedly, Anko was deeply impressed by Naruto's unwavering determination, to the point that she felt a faint sense of admiration for him. After all, she definitely couldn't do it. Recalling the exchange of glances between Naruto and the dumpling shop owner, Kurenai Yuhei said with a strange expression, He's not stupid, he should be. You're the idiot. Red Bean declared with unwavering determination, Never give up. Oh no, what if my best friend gets completely fooled? Let's make a cold dish. Kurenai didn't reveal the truth she had discovered. She was worried that Naruto would get beaten up and that Anko would go to jail. Aye. As evening falls, the sun sets in the west, casting its golden rays upon the earth. The customers finally left, the dumpling shop closed, and Naruto carried his stool home. 15 minutes later, Naruto changed his clothes again, put on a fox mask, and arrived at the back door of the dumpling shop. Boom, boom, boom. The back door opened, and the owner of the dumpling shop, who had been there during the day, poked his head out and looked around. Seeing that there was no one else around, he quickly invited Naruto inside. He paid without saying a word. Here's your pay for this week, count it. 5,000 taels, equivalent to Naruto's living expenses for 10 months. Naruto said, That's more. The first 3 weeks were 4,000 taels each. The owner smiled and said, Business has been good this week. Naruto didn't believe it, but he didn't expose him. He put the money in his pocket and prepared to leave. The boss pleaded, Wait a minute, I have a favor to ask. Could you please extend the contract for another month? I can offer extra pay, 6,000 taels every 6 months. I knew it. Naruto turned around and said, I already have an appointment for next month. How about we reschedule? When would you have time? 1 year later. So busy. Of course I'm busy. Just think about your store's business this month, and you'll understand. Black and red are still red. Thanks to the negative publicity brought by Naruto, the business of the dumpling shop has increased more than tenfold this month. Even after deducting the salary paid to Naruto, the dumpling shop still made a fortune. Savvy businesses will naturally be envious and want to sign a brand endorsement deal with Naruto. Like the owner of the dumpling shop, they like making money. Their boycott of Naruto is just following the trend. They don't have any deep hatred for Naruto, and none of their relatives or friends died in the Nine Tails attack. They have no psychological barriers to cooperating with Naruto. Although there's a risk of social ruin if this gets out. As long as I keep it a secret, who will know? Besides, fortune favors the bold, so if you want to make money, taking some risks is worthwhile. But making money comes at a price, and Naruto paid the price of an increasingly outrageous reputation, almost to the point of making children cry. However, Naruto doesn't care about reputation when it comes to duct tape, because it's useless. The only slightly troublesome thing is that you have to wear a mask every time you want to buy some daily necessities. Otherwise, you can't buy them. But I'm really annoyed. It makes me feel like I'm too ashamed to show my face. However, putting aside this minor unpleasantness, Naruto's wallet is getting fatter and fatter. He carefully selected merchants who had no grudge against him but were enemies of his and were in the same industry, and the two sides reached a secret cooperation agreement. Then money started flowing in like crazy, and I no longer had to be careful about saving on food, clothing, and other necessities. I even bought a few kunai and shuriken. Not wanting to see the strange looks from the locals, Naruto switched to training his body in the forest. With a kunai in his left hand and a shuriken in his right, he ran merrily through the forest, chasing and shooting at small animals such as pheasants and rabbits. I not only trained my body, but also practiced my throwing skills with hidden weapons. In reality, it was just random throwing. Without any professional training, the accuracy of the hidden weapons was even worse than that of the javelin. The movements were either crooked or the force was out of control. After practicing for a long time, all they did was work up a sweat and had no idea where they were going. It wasn't until later, when Naruto asked the third Hokage for advice during a visit, that he started to act more seriously. However, as time went by, Naruto, nourished by the Nine Tails Yang Chakra, became increasingly stronger, but the original intensity of his training could no longer satisfy him. So he decided to add a new exercise to his routine, chopping down trees. Chapter 10. He deserves to be killed. Training activity, felling trees. It can not only improve physical strength and coordination, but also be used to collect carving materials and as firewood for outdoor picnics. This can be described as killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Naruto spends his mornings training in the forest and his afternoons working at the shop entrance to earn money. His days are very fulfilling. And just like that, 2 years passed in a flash. 2 years later. The forest in the early morning is quiet and serene, with a thin mist still lingering and sunlight filtering through the leaves and scattering across the ground. Boom! 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 At the edge of the forest, in a sizable area of tree stumps, Naruto swung his axe, chopping down large trees at a leisurely pace. An hour later, a large tree collapsed with a crash. Seeing this, Naruto switched to another tree and continued cutting it down. 2 hours later, another tree fell. After sitting down to rest for a while, Naruto got up took out a kunai from his ninja tool pouch, and ran into the forest. An hour later, Naruto emerged from the forest, panting heavily and carrying a rabbit. Looking up at the sky, the sun shines brightly, high in the sky at noon. It's time for lunch. Arriving at the nearby wooden house, small and simple, it contained pots, pans, firewood, rice, oil, salt, and other food-related items. 15 minutes later, by the river, Naruto set up a grill to roast a rabbit. He added seasonings while grilling, and when the aroma was irresistible, he started eating. Ahem. A fish has taken the bait. Just as Naruto was enjoying his meal, he noticed that the fishing rod next to him suddenly moved. He set the fishing rod in the morning, not expecting to catch any fish, since his fishing skills have never been very good. So he was just playing around and didn't even put any bait in. I never expected this. Just as Jiang Ziya existed in ancient times, Naruto Uzumaki, exist today. Naruto was slightly excited. He stuffed a rabbit leg into his mouth, wiped his oily hands on the grass, then gripped the fishing rod tightly, gathered his strength, and pulled hard. It didn't move. Wow, it's heavy. It looks like a big fish. Naruto became even more excited and pulled with all his might. But the more I pulled, the more something felt wrong. Something seems off. Looking at the dark shape gradually emerging from the water, it didn't look like a fish, but more like corpse. Seeing this, Naruto stopped pulling. I didn't see anything. Yes, I didn't see anything. We still need to eat lunch. Having a corpse here is just too disgusting. Naruto tossed aside his fishing rod, turned around nonchalantly, picked up some grilled meat from the grill, and prepared to leave. Etc. 2 ANBU members, hiding nearby, jumped out. Naruto could pretend he didn't see them, but the ANBU members couldn't. One ANBU member ran into the river to retrieve the body, while another ANBU member stopped Naruto. This is really troublesome, Naruto sighed inwardly, glancing at the ANBU members ahead. He said with dissatisfaction, "This has nothing to do with me. Why are you stopping me?" The ANBU member said, "I know it has nothing to do with you, but you're the first to see it." Naruto interrupted, "No, I didn't see anything. You guys were the first to see it." The ANBU member said speechlessly, "I saw it all." Naruto nodded and said, "That's right, it's what you saw." I ate deer. That's not what I meant. This is the water of instantaneous movement. A gasp came from the riverbank. Aye. The third Hokage rushed over after receiving the report from the Anbu and saw the corpse on the grass. Pale, wrinkled skin, bloated body, empty eye sockets. Still water. The third generation couldn't help but sigh. Another outstanding successor to the will of fire has been lost. So he really is dead, but who has his other kaleidoscope in their hands? Danzo, who had also received the news, arrived quickly and immediately noticed Shisui's empty eye sockets, his expression turning slightly serious. Danzo asked in a deep voice who was the first to discover it. The ninjas of the Anbu all turned their attention to Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto, who was preparing to sneak away, thought, 8 of you. Why are you all looking at me like that? Danzo frowned and said, "It's you." Nine Tails, Jinchuriki. Naruto glanced at the third Hokage, feeling safe and secure, and then proudly declared, "That's right, it's me." What are you going to do about it? Did I offend him? Why is he so aggressive? Danzo was taken aback, then said with a displeased expression, "Is this how you speak to me?" Naruto countered, "Then what should my attitude be? Kneel down and call me grandpa." Grandson. Arrogant. Danzo's face darkened, his eyes flashing with a cold light, But Naruto remained calm and glared back. You dare to be so arrogant with mere Danzo? Wrong. This scoundrel is now a god. Thinking of this, Naruto shuddered and quickly hid behind the third Hokage, praying silently. Don't look at me, don't look at me. If you want to look at the third generation. If you control the third generation, what can't you get? The third Hokage, unaware of Naruto's inner thoughts, assumed he was frightened by Danzo and patted his head affectionately, offering a few words of comfort. Then the third Hokage said, Danzo, why are you arguing with a child? You're making a fool of yourself. A joke. Who dares to laugh? I'd like to see who dares to laugh. Danzo looked around, and wherever his gaze fell, all the ninjas lowered their heads, pretending not to see him. The ruthlessness of the dark side of the ninja world extends not only to external forces, but also to internal ones. They dare not offend them. Finally, Danzo's gaze fell on Naruto, and he said coldly, You dare to disrespect the village elders at such a young age. I can't even imagine what you'll be like when you grow up. Are you planning to betray the village? This is such a masterful job. He truly deserves the title of King of Pots. The third Hokage said, You're exaggerating, Danzo. Danzo said, Is it an exaggeration? It's not an exaggeration at all. Hiruzen, think about Orochimaru. The third Hokage's face darkened. Orochimaru was a source of eternal pain for him, and Danzo's revisiting of the past was simply touching a raw nerve. Seeing this, Danzo thought he had persuaded the third Hokage and said with a hint of excitement, Hiruzen, you entrust the Jinchuriki to me for training. The third Hokage interrupted sharply, Danzo, this is impossible. Don't mention it again. Is handing over the Jinchuriki to Danzo. Is he feeling that his position as Hokage is too secure? Hiruzen, you'll regret this. Danzo, I am the Hokage. This conversation had been repeated countless times, and the three generations were so familiar with it that they didn't take it to heart at all. He ordered the Anbu to take Naruto away from there. Danzo snorted coldly and didn't continue the argument. He turned to Shisui's corpse and said, Give me the body, and Root will help find the murderer. He wanted to destroy the evidence, so that the third generation wouldn't deduce from the wounds on the body that he had obtained Kotomatsu Kami. Swish! Itachi instantly appeared in front of the corpse, suppressing his raging anger, and said, We don't need Elder Danzo's help. This is the person who not only killed Shisui, but also tried to desecrate his corpse. Kill. Chapter 11. Your friends are really cheap. Danzo. Wasn't killing Shisui enough for you? You even want to desecrate his corpse. You deserve to die. Itachi's eyes were filled with icy killing intent as he looked at Danzo. Danzo said in a deep voice, Uchiha Itachi, that look in your eyes. Are you trying to rebel? As soon as Danzo finished speaking, the Root ninjas drew their weapons and surrounded Itachi. Elder Danzo, are you trying to think that the Uchiha clan has no one to rely on? Fugaku appeared with a group of Uchiha, confronting Danzo and the Root forces. The atmosphere was tense and somber. This is so exciting. Naruto kept turning back to look at the scene, anticipating what was to come. The two spies on the side were speechless. This brat, you even understand how serious this matter is? Hey, you brat, stop staring and come with us out of here. Let me watch a little longer. Aren't you looking forward to it? Oh no, aren't you worried? Hey kid, we just heard you say, expecting. The two ANBU members exchanged a glance with Ryu and reached an agreement. One of the ANBU bent down, picked up Naruto, and quickly left, while the other ANBU followed closely behind them. Naruto didn't resist. Tusk, whatever, we're definitely not going to fight anyway. Fighting is out of the question, given Fugaku's cowardly nature and the presence of the third Hokage, a top-tier strategist who's good at mediating disputes. As expected, a shootout did not occur. Konoha village remains peaceful, but beneath the surface, turbulent undercurrents lurk. If you're not careful, you'll be swept into it and crushed to pieces. Wise people have long since distanced themselves from it, while those deeply entrenched in it find no escape, only growing more and more desperate, ultimately leading them to extremes. However, none of this mattered to Naruto. His daily routine remained unchanged. He trained and practiced in the morning and worked to earn money in the afternoon. One night, after Naruto finished dinner and washed up, he lay down on his bed and fell asleep peacefully. Tick! The sound of water droplets falling. Here it is. Naruto opened his eyes and found himself in a dimly lit space. Examine carefully. The ground was covered with puddles, several centimeters deep. In front of it was a huge iron gate, several tens of meters high, with a sealing talisman on it. Inside the gate lay a large, fiery red fox. It dawned on him. So this is the nine-tailed, sealed space. I've never been here before. Hey kid over there, come here. The nine-tail's voice was as loud as a bell, making Naruto's ears ring. Hey, keep your voice down, you big fox, you're disturbing me. As he spoke, Naruto took 2 steps forward. Clang! The nine-tails propped itself up on its forelimbs, and its huge claws suddenly pierced out, sparking a lot of sparks from the iron gate, which splashed all over Naruto and almost led him to follow in the footsteps of his parents in this life. Wiping away non-existent cold sweat from his forehead, Naruto stared at the large fingernail in front of him, lost in thought. Speaking of which, if someone dies inside the sealed space, will their external body also die? Kid, stop daydreaming. Come closer and let me kill you. Upon hearing this, Naruto looked up and stared at Kurama with the look of someone looking at an idiot. Are you stupid? Knowing you're going to kill me, why would I go there? You dare call me stupid? The nine-tails roared, its extremely ferocious aura spreading out and pressing down on Naruto. Little brat, come here. I will grant you great power. Kurama can see what's happening outside and knows that its current Jinchuriki is a diligent trainee who craves power. After a long while, Naruto finally snapped out of his daze from Kurama's roar. He shook his head to clear his mind. What did you just say, big fox? I didn't hear you clearly. Say it again. Nine-Tails suppressed its boiling malice and repeated its words, its tone full of seduction. However, Naruto, who had read the script beforehand, didn't believe a single word of it. The Nine-Tails can indeed grant power, and very powerful power at that, but only to those whom the Nine-Tails deems worthy. Like Naruto in the future. As for Naruto right now. Die, you bastard. Naruto pondered for a moment and said, Fox, you must have been trapped here. The Nine-Tails could barely contain its malice. So what? If you want power, come here quickly. Naruto shook his head and refused. I'm not going over there. I'll just stand here and say this. I don't believe you can grant me such great power. If you were really that strong, how could you be locked up here? You wretched brat. Naruto's words touched on Kurama's painful past. Back in the day, I was a free-roaming fox, but greedy humans coveted my power, causing me to fall to the point where I can't even scare a child. It's all because of your despicable and shameless behavior as humans that you dared to attack me while I was sleeping. If they had known earlier that there were 2 monsters among humans in that era, Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha, the Nine-Tails would definitely have hidden away to the ends of the earth, waiting for those two monsters to die before reappearing. By then, who will be able to do anything to him? But now, Sai, it's too late to say anything. Naruto expressed his understanding. Yeah, I get it. People who can't accept defeat or don't understand often say that. Even though you're a fox, the principle should be the same. Enraged, the nine-tailed fox roared, I'm going to kill you. I've never seen such an annoying brat as you. Bangs, bang, bang. The enormous body kept pounding against the iron gate, the nine tails intending to break through and tear the speechless brat to shreds. However, the seal forged by the fourth Hokage, with his life, was unbreakable. The nine tails rammed against the gate for a long time, but it did not budge. Kurama said indignantly, that damned Minato Namikaze, father and son, are equally detestable. Naruto didn't hear this because the commotion had been too loud, and he was covering his ears with his hands. Seeing that Kurama had stopped banging on the door and was lying down on the waterlogged ground again, Naruto lowered his hands and thought to himself, wow, that's amazing. With so much water, it's not afraid of getting rheumatism. I should go out now. Naruto walked around the sealed space, but couldn't find an exit, so he returned to the front of the large iron gate. Hey, Fox, I have a question for you. How do I get out of here? Roll. Nine Tails didn't even lift its eyelids. Naruto tried to dissuade him. Hey, don't be like that, Fox. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. What's your name? You are not worthy to know my name. Nine Tails ignored it and lay down to sleep. Naruto launched an emotional offensive. Hey, Fox, we can try being friends. Friends should help each other. So, my friend, can you tell me how to get out? You brat, your friends are so cheap. Ninetails ignored him, turned over, and continued sleeping. Friend, please give me some face. You have absolutely no dignity. No matter what Naruto said, Kurama didn't utter a single word in response. Fine, if you won't tell me, I'll figure it out myself. Chapter 12. Are you ready to die? You really won't tell me. Fine, I'll figure something out myself. Ugh. The next morning, Naruto got up listlessly to wash up. He spent half the night trying to find a way to leave the sealed space. Concentrate your mind, strengthen your resolve to leave, and you can leave whenever you want. The methods for entering and leaving are similar. Concentrate your mind on the seal in your lower abdomen, strengthen your resolve to go in, and you can go in whenever you want. After yawning and finishing his breakfast, Naruto left home and went to the forest to train. We had a picnic at noon, then sat on guard outside the village's milk tea shop in the afternoon and had Ikaraku ramen for dinner. Daylight passed quickly, night fell, and the bright moon gradually rose, like a bright lamp hanging high above Konoha village. In the bedroom, Naruto lay on the bed asleep, his consciousness entering the sealed space. Naruto waved and greeted politely. Good evening, Fox. We meet again. The nine-tailed fox's eyes were closed, and its tail was not raised, as if it were asleep. During the day, I suddenly realized something. The villagers call me a fox demon because of you. The nine-tailed fox slowly opened its beastly eyes. That's right, it's because of me, brat. You can start hating me now. Humans are all like this anyway, blaming others for their own mistakes. Kurama is used to it. Naruto asked in surprise, why should I hate you? Every wrong has its perpetrator, and every debt its debtor. If anyone should hate someone, it should be those who insulted me. An interesting little brat. Kurama showed some interest in Naruto. This year's Jinchuriki seemed a bit different. The nine-tailed fox's eyes darted around, and it tempted. Do you want revenge? I can grant you power, so you can take revenge on those who insulted you. Naruto said, thank you, but you don't need my help. I have my own plans. Instead of being disappointed, Ninetales was very interested and said, "So, what do you plan to do?" "My suggestion is that you kill them all. Otherwise, it won't be enough to vent your anger." The son of the fourth Hokage murdered villagers and became a rogue ninja. Just thinking about this plot makes Kurama, the Nine Tails, incredibly excited. Minato Namikaze, Kushina Uzumaki, for how you treated me back then, I will not only take revenge, but also corrupt your children. Hehehe. Naruto wasn't fooled. He sighed and said, "You fox, I'm not stupid, so stop giving me bad advice, okay?" Upon hearing this, Kurama looked down at Naruto for a moment. His youthful face was full of composure, unlike that of an ordinary 5-year-old child, and he was clearly not someone to be fooled. How boring. It turns out he's just a precocious brat. Ninetales felt bored and closed his eyes to go to sleep. Naruto didn't disturb them, said good night, and left the sealed space. Conquering the fox is a long-term task, and Naruto isn't in a hurry. Haste makes waste. Every night before going to sleep, he would go into the sealed space and chat with the Nine Tails for a few minutes. But most of the time it's Naruto talking to himself, expressing joy, sadness, liking, dislike. He says whatever comes to mind, treating the Nine Tails as a confidant and a place to vent his feelings and relieve stress. Ninetales usually sleeps with its eyes closed. Whether it's actually asleep or not is unknown, but it doesn't really pay much attention to people. But stick to the adhesive tape. Even without speaking, Kurama is a very suitable confidant. Naruto, who lives alone all day without friends and surrounded by malice, appears proud and indifferent on the surface, focusing solely on making money and training to become stronger. But humans are ultimately social animals, and deep down, Naruto couldn't help but feel a little lonely. But now that we have the Nine Tails, well, as time went on, Kurama, the Nine Tails, began to get used to Naruto's arrival. Although his attitude was still not particularly good, he would occasionally chime in with a few words when he was in the mood. Just now, Naruto complained, "Q, I've always felt I should have a pair of powerful round eyes, but for some reason I never have." Nine-tailed fox opened its scarlet eyes, bared its teeth, and said fiercely, "That sounds awful, you brat. Don't call me Little Nine." Finally, they spoke. Naruto was taken aback and immediately retorted, "If you're not calling me Q, what should I call you? You're not saying your name." Naruto already knew that the Nine-Tails' name was Kurama. But he couldn't say it out loud, because saying it wouldn't explain the reason and would only cause him more trouble. It would be best if Kurama himself told me, because that would mean Kurama approves of him. However, gaining Kurama's approval at this stage is not easy, at least. It's unlikely at the moment. Nine-tailed fox sneered, "Kid, you're far from knowing my name." Naruto retorted, "You're acting like a lady from an ancient noble family, as if you're afraid others will know your given name." Maid name. Kurama was furious, feeling that his dignity as a tailed beast had been severely insulted. "Roll. Are you looking to die?" As it stood up, a terrifying aura emanated from the Nine-Tails' body. Naruto froze, stunned for a moment, before he withstood the pressure and said, "It was just a joke between friends. Don't take it seriously." The Nine-Tailed Fox stared at him silently. Naruto felt a little uneasy and tentatively asked, "Ah, aren't we friends?" Nine-Tailed Fox scoffed, "Friends? You mean friends locked in cages? Treating each other as equals makes us friends, but keeping someone in a cage, well, that's just being a pet at best." Naruto understands the Chinese letter, principal reason, but he can't change anything. It's not that I'm unwilling, but rather that I'm unable. He didn't set up the seal, so he doesn't have the ability to break it. What am I even expecting? Seeing Naruto leave silently, Kurama couldn't help but laugh at itself, thinking to have expectations of humans. I guess I'm still too naive. He made a decision. From now on, no matter what Naruto says, he won't reply with a single word. The next day, night, Ninetales awoke from her daze to find the gate empty. The guy who should have been talking to himself at this time of day hadn't shown up yet. Now it seems that kid actually has some self-awareness. Ninetales grew increasingly disappointed, closed its eyelids, and prepared to continue sleeping. Suddenly, he felt something strange behind him. Turning my head, I saw a person lying on one of his tails, fast asleep. You bastard! How did you get in here? How dare you come in? Nine-tailed creature bristled and swung its tail. The air whistled and flowed, and Naruto was thrown into the air before crashing into the door with a loud bang. I'm telling you, Zyroju, you've really gone too far. Naruto stood up groggily, rubbing the red marks on his face, looking on with a complaining expression. Kurama, the Nine-Tails, didn't care about how Naruto addressed it. Its massive, sharp claws were held horizontally in front of Naruto, and it said menacingly, "Kid, now that you're in, you're probably ready to die, aren't you?" Chapter 13, Ninja Academy. Kid, now that you're in, are you ready to die? Naruto looked up and said sincerely, I'm not planning to die. I came in to be your friend. The best way to make friends is through sincerity, and Naruto is being sincere right now, which Kurama has also sensed. How can someone be anything other than being sincere when they're willing to risk their life to befriend themselves? Nine-Tails was silent for a moment before saying, You humans are all the same. I don't want to be friends with you yet. Naruto said seriously, Everyone is unique, so we will definitely become friends. Nine-tailed Fox sneered, Heh, you want to say you're different? Naruto said, Time will tell. Nine-Tails remained noncommittal. Then let time prove it. After saying that, Kurama retracted its claws and ignored Naruto. As expected, she's a proud and arrogant fox. Naruto smiled, ready to strike while the iron was hot, and walked to the side of Kurama's tail. As a friend, it's perfectly normal for me to let you sleep, right? With its fluffy tail, it slept soundly. Before Kurama could even agree, Naruto was about to climb onto its tail to sleep. Get lost. Kid, don't be so arrogant. I just gave you a little taste, and you dare to open a dye shop. I don't even want to think about what you'll do next. The Nine-Tails couldn't stand it. Its tail stood up high, almost making Naruto fall flat on his face. Zyroju, you're so shy. But I'll forgive you since it's your first time. Do I need your forgiveness? You wretched brat. The Nine-Tails bared its teeth at Naruto, looking less like a fox and more like a small dog feigning ferocity. I really want to pat that dog's head. Naruto suppressed his urge to do something reckless, said good night, then turned sideways, passed through the door, and disappeared. Good night, kid. The deep voice echoed in the space, but unfortunately no one heard it. As time passed, half a year went by, and Naruto and Kurama gradually got along well. Whether they can be considered friends is another matter, but they can basically communicate normally, and it's no longer Naruto's one-man show. I believe that as time goes by, the day will surely come when the human and the fox become friends. The only regret is that Nine-Tails still won't let me sleep. How stingy. At noon that day, in the forest, on the grassy riverbank, Naruto was grilling fish when the third Hokage suddenly arrived, chatting and eating with him. After finishing the fish, the third Hokage started smoking, exhaling white smoke, and said softly, Naruto, you're 6 years old now. It's time for you to go to school. The third Hokage took out the admission notice, and Naruto took it and saw that the start date was a week later. Okay, I understand. Goodbye, Grandpa. In no rush. I want to talk to you for a while longer. Okay, then tell me. They chatted casually for half an hour before the third Hokage prepared to leave to attend to official business. However, before leaving, he had a question he had to ask. Does Naruto dislike his grandfather? Every time the two chatted, the third Hokage could sense Naruto's obvious disdain. How dare you ask this question? Don't you have any self-awareness? Naruto inwardly scoffed, but outwardly feigned surprise. I don't dislike you at all, old man. Why do you say that? The third generation took a drag of his cigarette and said dejectedly, You don't seem too keen on talking to me. You're overthinking it. I don't like talking to anyone. You're just one of them. It doesn't mean I hate you. Remembering that he still needed the third Hokage's protection and couldn't afford to offend him, Naruto reassured him. Besides, if you think about it carefully, nobody in the village talks to me. The person who talks to me the most is actually the old man. I like him so much, how could I dislike him? The third Hokage fell silent, looking at Naruto with a guilty expression. I'm sorry, because of my selfishness. Naruto asked curiously, Grandpa, why are you looking at me like that? The third generation came to their senses and let out a deep breath. He didn't regret what he did. It was all for Konoha. It was just that Naruto suffered, and he felt sorry for Minato and Kushina. Composing himself, the third Hokage patted Naruto's head kindly and said, Make friends at school. There are lots of good kids there. Going to school. If you're going to school, then the job of earning money by sitting at a job must naturally stop. Naruto had saved up enough money to last until he became a genin. He didn't feel any reluctance or anything like that. After all, he didn't really want to sit in front of someone else's shop unless it was absolutely necessary. He looked like a beggar, and he also had to face the strange looks from troublemakers. They're all driven by money. Aye. On the first day of the Ninja Academy, Naruto arrived at his assigned class. Unsurprisingly, I encountered many familiar faces. Nara Shikamaru, Yamanaka Ino, Akimichi Choji, Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke. They were all children, making Naruto feel like he was in elementary school. Elementary school, middle school, high school, university, elementary school. Sigh, how come I'm getting worse the more I read? Naruto sighed inwardly and sat down in an empty seat in the back row. Before long, a man wearing a green vest and with a fierce look walked into the classroom. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ninja Academy. I am your teacher, Iruka Umino. After a brief self-introduction, Iruka took out a notebook. Now we'll begin roll call. Students whose names are called, please come up and introduce yourselves, including your name, hobbies, and dreams. The first one is Uchiha Sasuke. The voices of infatuated girls immediately rang out. They were clearly just a group of 5 or 6-year-old little girls, but they seemed to know a lot. All I can say is that the children in the ninja world are precocious to an excessive degree. Thinking of this, Naruto looked at Hinata, who was secretly glancing at him. When she noticed him looking at her, Hinata's face immediately turned red, and she hurriedly looked away, burying her head in her arms like an ostrich. She's also precocious, and just like in the original story, she falls in love with Naruto. But the feeling of being liked by a lowly. Naruto's expression was strange. These days were getting more and more difficult. Aye. On the stage, Sasuke coldly said, My name is Uchiha Sasuke. My hobby is training, and my dream is to surpass my brother. The little girls screamed again. Ah. It's Sasuke. So cool. Iruka stopped them, saying, All right, quiet. Next, Choji Okamichi. The chubby boy said, My name is Choji Okamichi. I love eating yakiniku, grilled meat, and my dream is to have an endless supply of yakiniku. Next, Kiba in Yuzuka. The boy with red markings on his cheeks said, My name is Kiba in Yuzuka. I like dogs, and my dream is to become Hokage. Next up, Nara Shikamaru. Shikamaru looked listless. My name is Nara Shikamaru. I like playing shogi, and my dream is to live a peaceful life. Next up, Sakura Haruno. The pink-haired girl stood up and said, Hello everyone, my name is Sakura Haruno, my best friend is Ino, and my dream is to become a great female ninja like Tsunade. Next, soon it was Naruto's turn. Next up, Naruto Uzumaki. Uruka's eyes were filled with anger, his parents. Chapter 14, The Cheat Arrives. Next up, Naruto Uzumaki. Most of the students in the class looked scared. The villagers said that little yellow hair was a man-eating monster, and that he ate 3 meals a day. They're in the same class now. They won't get eaten, will they? No. Ignoring the anger and fear of those around him, Naruto was already used to it and walked slowly onto the podium. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My hobby is sculpting, and my dream is... Naruto paused for a moment, then asked, What was my dream again? Hokage. I wouldn't even be a dog. A bunch of scoundrels. How could they possibly be worthy of such an excellent Hokage as me? How to gain everyone's approval. That's even more impossible. He doesn't care at all about the opinions of troublemakers. Naruto pondered for a while and realized that he had no great ambitions. He just wanted to live a peaceful life, undisturbed, and that there couldn't be any troublemakers with brains bubbling up in the neighborhood. So, actually, my dream is to move, or to take it a step further, to escape from Konoha, this big prison. No, this idea is a bit dangerous. You can't say it out loud. So Naruto casually said, My dream is to bring sculptures to life. Then she'll be my wife. The third generation, watching the live stream through the crystal ball, couldn't help but sigh. This child seems to be terribly lonely, to the point that he started making friends with people from his imagination. Hopefully, the Ninja Academy can change Naruto. The morning consisted of self-introductions, the afternoon of distributing textbooks, and the formal teaching began the next day. Uruka spoke eloquently. As we all know, the human body has 130 trillion cells. The physical energy and spiritual energy produced by these cells are mixed evenly to produce chakra. And chakra is the foundation of becoming a ninja. Everyone knows how important it is. Here I will explain the chakra extraction process in detail. Listen carefully. I know many of you already know the material, but it never hurts to review it. Those of you who don't know it need to listen even more carefully, as this relates to whether you can become a ninja in the future. Naruto is one of those people who needs to listen attentively. Although he has several chakras in his body, they belong to the 9 tails and cannot be used, while his own chakra has not yet been extracted. However, he is not worried about it. As a member of the Uzumaki clan, even if he is only half a member, extracting chakra is a piece of cake for him. There are no specific requirements for posture when extracting chakra, but it is best to choose a comfortable and relaxed posture, and the specific method varies from person to person. Naruto went home from school, quickly ate dinner, and then lay down on the bed. For him, lying down is the most comfortable position. Harmonize the spiritual and physical energy within the group. 15 minutes later, a strange sensation came over me, and a peculiar energy flowed throughout my body. It's a success. Naruto sat up, looking at his hands, where faint blue chakra appeared. The next second, something unexpected happened. The seed buried deep within the soul, stimulated by Naruto's chakra, began to continuously absorb chakra and broke free from its seal. A stinging pain came from my eyes. What happened? My eyes hurt so much. Wait, could this be? The cheat program, which has been delayed for 6 years, has finally arrived. Thinking of this possibility, Naruto excitedly jumped out of bed and ran into the bathroom to look in the mirror. Right, we can't let the ANBU find out. Naruto closed the bathroom door and window tightly and looked at himself in the mirror. The blue eyes gradually disappeared, and golden eyes with a cyclical pattern came into view. Golden Rinnegan, quite beautiful, but it seems to be the same style as Momoshiki's. Wearing the same outfit as someone else isn't scary, but it's embarrassing for the weaker one. In the struggle for the ultimate truth, there's no room for backing down. Naruto understood that one of them, himself or Momoshiki, would inevitably die. At that moment, a massive influx of information flooded into Naruto's mind, making him feel a little dizzy and disoriented. It took him a while to recover. He gently rubbed his temples and sorted out the information in his mind. Rinnegan's skill set. Shinra Tensei, Bancho Tenin, Chibaku Tensei, Chakra Devouring, Sealing Technique Absorption Seal, Rin Rebirth. In addition to the Rinnegan's general skills, there are 2 exclusive skills. The left eye possesses the pupil technique of Yuji Yuhan, which governs the soul, absorbing the soul energy between heaven and earth and transforming it into soul essence to replenish the soul. It can be used by oneself, or given to others, or even used on inanimate objects to imbue them with a soul. The right eye, with its divine power of spiritual energy, governs life, absorbing the life energy of heaven and earth and transforming it into life essence to replenish life. It can be used by oneself, given to others, and even used on inanimate objects, giving them life. It has to be said that the 2-eye techniques are excessively powerful, perhaps enhanced by some unknown master. Life and soul are given to inanimate objects. Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. Isn't this a huge loss? Isn't this the dream he casually mentioned yesterday? If he had known this would happen, his dream would have been a reality. It's just a pity. Sai, it's too late to say anything now. Kid, what are you doing? Why is my chakra constantly draining away? The amount of chakra lost was not much, just a drop in the ocean for Kurama, but Kurama sensed a familiar aura. 9 llamas. As his consciousness entered the sealed space, Naruto called out Kurama's true name and smiled. Let me reintroduce myself. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and I'd like to be your friend. He admitted that his previous friendship with Kurama was not based on pure intentions. Beneath his apparent sincerity lay a full of schemes to plot against Kurama's power. Now that he has awakened the Rinnegan and has the confidence to protect himself, Naruto can confidently say, I don't care how strong my friends are, because none of them are as strong as me anyway. It's too early to say, after all, he has only